Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I decided to do this video on the Ingleton line, given the fact that I have not seen any videos anywhere whatsoever on YouTube in regards to this line, and also some surrounding lines as well, so I'm going to do them. I think maybe people are sick to death of seeing the same old stations being done in regards to videos and lines and stuff, so I'm going to do something different which hopefully will result in a lot more views. So here we go. Here's the history of what was known as the Ingleton Line. In 1846, the North Western Railway was formed to connect the Leeds and Bradford Extension Railway at Skipton to the Lancaster and Carlisle Railway south of Sedbergh, with a secondary branch from Clapham to Lancaster. In 1849, the route between Skipton and Ingleton opened, but further work northward was abandoned due to financial difficulties. The company decided to concentrate instead on the cheaper branch to Lancaster. When the route from Skipton to Lancaster opened in 1850, the short section from Clapham to Ingleton closed. Other railway companies had an interest in the line north of Ingleton being built, as it could form part of the main line route from London to Scotland, shorter than the existing West Coast Main Line. Over the next few years, there were many negotiations between the NWR and LNCR, the Midland Railway, the Great Northern Railway and the London and North Western Railway, quite a few. The original time limit set by Parliament in 1846 for the construction of the line was about to expire, so a further 5-year extension was obtained by the NWR in 1852. However, negotiations failed and it became clear that the line could not be built even with the new timescale. Eventually, in 1857, two rival bills were put before Parliament. One was from the North West Railway, with the support of the Great Northern Railway, who hoped to form a mainline route from London to Scotland. The proposed route was through Ingleton to Kirkby, Lonsdale, then straight up the Lune Valley to join the LNCR line just south of Sedbergh. The other bill was from the LNCR itself, who wanted to block its rival GNR's ambitions to reach Scotland. The LNCR route differed from the proposed NWR route in two ways. One, it passed closer to the town of Sedbergh and it joined the main LNCR line significantly further south at the existing Lowgill station. A Commons committee decided to accept the LNCR scheme and the bill was passed on the 25th of August 1857. The line was built by the Lancaster and Carlisle Railway between 1858 and 1861, and the work was split into 4 contracts. Contract 1A covered 1 mile and 6 chains from Lowgill and included the Lowgill Viaduct of 11 arches, each 45 feet wide, with a maximum height of 90 feet. It was awarded to Samuel Buxton of Leeds. Contract 1 covered 4 miles and 38 chains and included 2 major bridges over the River Rohe from Sedbergh, and this was 120 feet long and 53 feet high. The other over the River Lune, known as Waterside Viaduct, was 530 feet long and 100 feet high, both with a cast iron central arch of similar style to each other. It was awarded to Coulthard and Allen, who had built the Clapham to Ingleton NWR line some 10 years earlier. Contract 2 covered 7 miles and 27 chains over flatter ground with no major works and was awarded to James Taylor. Contract 3 covered the final 5 miles and 78 chains, ending at the Ingleton Viaduct of 11 arches, each 57 feet wide, 800 feet long and a maximum height of 80 feet. the foundations of which had been laid 10 years earlier by the NWR. It was also awarded to James Taylor. Some 1,600 navvies and 70 horses were used to build the 18-mile line. Before construction, the line had been referred to as the Autumn Branch or the Lune Valley Line, but once built it was officially known as the Ingleton Branch. There are no tunnels along the line except for a short one on the mineral railway that branched off from the main line at Ingleton. The line was open to passengers on the 16th of September 1861, by which time the LNWR had taken control of the L&CR, and its rival the MR had taken over the NWR, which still owned the line beyond Ingleton. The rival companies could not come to an agreement over the sharing of the Midland station at Ingleton, so the L&CR built its own station at Ingleton, the two stations being at the opposite ends of Ingleton Viaduct. In the early days of the line, through passengers had to walk nearly a mile between two Ingleton stations, descending into the valley below and climbing up the other side, where they often had to wait as the companies did not cooperate over timetable in either. Soon after, the M&R agreed to allow NNWR trains to terminate at the Midland station, but both Ingleton stations remained open and connections were not timetabled. Ingleton station was closed in 1917, but it was not until the 1923 grouping of the LNWR and MR in the London, Midland and Scottish Railway, are you following me, that the division at Ingleton was removed, and the whole route from Clapham to T-Bay was operated with through trains. The Midland Railway wanted to use the Ingleton branch to form part of the main line from London to Scotland, but the LNWR, which already had its own Scotland line, refused to cooperate. This led to the Midland obtaining a bill in 1866 to construct the Sedbergh and Carlisle line, which would serve the same purpose. Subsequently, the M&R and LNWR came to an agreement over the Ingleton branch, and the MR wished to abandon the plan for the Sedbergh and Carlisle line, but Parliament refused in 1869, so the line was built anyway. This sealed the fate of the Ingleton branch to remain a rural branch and never obtain mainline status. Nevertheless, the line was used as a relief route whenever other lines to Scotland were temporarily closed. The line was doubled throughout. The steepest gradient was the final 4 3/4 miles to Low Gill at 1 in 100. The ruling speed limit was 60 miles per hour, with 40 miles per hour at Ingleton and the last 5 miles, and 20 miles per hour over Waterside and Rothay bridges. Each station controlled its signals, and there was an intermediate block post at Newby Moor until 1937, installed after a crash on the 22nd of July 1891 between a goods and a mixed train. All the stations were of stone, with low short platforms, and Sedbergh had a water tank and column. Ingleton Midland had a bay. Mostly the line had 1 goods and 4 2-coach passenger trains per day in each direction, but this reduced to 2 in 1994, in 1947 and 1951. All but Ingleton and Barban stations were distant from their towns. Collieries at Ingleton closed in 1925 and 1935, as did 2 limestone quarries. Barban Creamery switched its traffic to road, and Middleton on Lune Station closed on the 1st of May 1935. After rail nationalisation in 1948, it was becoming uneconomical to operate both the Ingleton line and the parallel Sedbergh and Carlisle line. Although the Ingleton line was much shorter and would have been cheaper to maintain, it was decided that the loss of the Sedbergh line would have a much greater impact on rural communities, and so on the 30th of January 1954, the Ingleton line closed to regular passenger traffic. The line was still occasionally used for weekend excursions and to transport pupils to and from local boarding schools. Goods traffic continued until the 1st of November 1964, although a goods service between Clapham and Ingleton continued for another 5 months after that. The line was maintained as a possible relief route until April 1967, when the tracks were lifted. So there we go, everybody. There is the history of the Ingleton branch, which is a different video to obviously what most people produce, if that makes any sense. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll be doing a lot more of the lines that haven't had much talked about. After all, it is railway history, and I hope I've done it justice for those who do remember the Ingleton line and are former railwaymen themselves. So please do drop a comment in the comment section, like, share and subscribe to help this channel grow. And as always, thank you so much for your support, because I wouldn't have the enthusiasm to do these videos if I didn't receive the views. So until the next video, I urge you all to take care and hear from you in the next video. Goodbye.